Want to ring the bell? All right. Ding, ding.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Two Views Movies. I am Garrett.
And I'm Carson.
And we are here live. Well, it won't be live when you hear it, but Super Bowl Sunday. That's all that really matters here.
It is Super Bowl Sunday. Nerves are going on this side of the mic anyway. You're cool, calm, and collected. I'm just a mess over here.
Yeah, like I've said before, when you've got 15, there's nothing to be worried about.
Hey, any given Sunday, he can't do everything. He can't catch the ball.
Doesn't matter.
He can't play defense.
Doesn't matter.
He can't kick field goals.
Wait, I will say, are we sure? Are you sure?
Well, he doesn't. He doesn't kick field goals.
Okay. Because
I'd feel more confident if he were out there with his turf toe kicking field goals.
I am confident that Mahomes could pretty much do anything. I think he could nail a 35-yard field goal. I think he could catch a touchdown pass. I know he can run for a touchdown. I think he can make a tackle. Do I want him to? No.
But he can't do them all at the same time. Is the point.
I'm not sure.
He has to rely on the rest of those jefes.
I mean, there could be like a split in the multiverse, and there's 15 Mahomes running around the field at any given time. It'd actually only be 11, but
But no, we get 15 if it's the same guy.
Details. I mean, we're splitting the multiverse. We'll get 4 more Mahomes out of it.
So if we're a little flustered today, well, at least that's my excuse, is because I'm just antsy. And we also decided to do this before the Super Bowl, because if things do go dark, you may not hear from us again.
Yeah, I already told work that I'm worthless on Monday, regardless of what happens. Like,
either celebrating or pouting.
I'm either going to be in a dark place, which I don't expect to happen, or I'm going to be watching all of the coverage and probably rewatching the game, 4 or 5 times. So don't expect much productivity out of me on Monday.
Nah, pretty much par for the course, though.
Yeah, I mean, you pick and choose your battles. All right, so what do we got going on today?
Well, today we are experimenting with new technology.
Yeah.
I can actually see you for the first time since we did this live almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't even know what our last live episode was. I think it would have been around the time maybe we did like a Who the Hell Is This For crossover when we did Crawl.
Crawl?
I mean,
is Endgame after Crawl? I think we did Endgame, didn't we?
I don't remember. It's been a while. So let's, I don't know that we need to see each other, but let's just hope it doesn't affect the audio quality. So if there's some glitches in the Matrix in this episode, it's because we got cute and started doing video.
Yeah. And we are in theory eventually going to add these to our YouTube channel, which we have. Right now it's just our audio. But we're seeing how this works out for a while first.
You got to dip your toe in the water a little bit. Figure out. You can't just go diving in deep ends with technology.
Yeah, work out the kinks first.
Yep. So yeah, something else we got going on today that we'll mention a little bit later is we've got a big giveaway. We know we've been teasing this on social media, and we'll give you the rundown here in a little bit about what exactly you need to do. We will have posted some instructions about this on social media, but we'll give you the codes for the giveaways and break it all down here in just a little bit.
Yeah, but first we are going to go through an emotional roller coaster today. I feel we're going some trailers,
yeah,
and then we're going to do a spoiler-filled breakdown of what we've seen so far in WandaVision.
Yeah, so we've already talked WandaVision for the first 2 episodes a few weeks back.
We're through 5.
Yeah, so now we're gonna catch up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the only thing that could have gotten you to not just start blurting out Godzilla versus Kong stuff would have been the Super Bowl. So, I mean, that's pretty much the only reason you didn't just start screaming about Godzilla versus Kong right off the bat.
Get him, Kong.
So let's just go ahead. I'm going to let you take control on Godzilla versus Kong because, as we do with all monster movies, these are your babies. It's not really my jam necessarily. So I'll let you lead the way on Godzilla versus Kong.
This trailer is awesome. Like, It is exactly what I wanted when you said King Kong versus Godzilla, and it is. I hope the movie leans more towards the monsters fighting and less the human interaction, because that's the. I pulled this off the internet. That's where they've been gravitating towards. So like the Godzilla 2014, you only got to see monsters for about 16 minutes of the entire movie. Then Godzilla King of the Monsters, you got 22 and a half minutes of monsters.
Really? I would have
Yeah.
thought it would have been way more of an increase.
I think they were spliced throughout, but not a lot of just
Okay.
straight. But you got an extra 6 minutes there of monsters. And this is pulled from a guy off Reddit, so who knows? It's the internet's counting. I did not count
Hey,
them myself.
they were
with a
right on
stopwatch.
GameStop.
True. So I'm hoping the trend increases and we get at least 30, 35 minutes at minimum of monsters. I'd like it to be, a full hour and a half of King Kong versus Godzilla, but I know they have to bring in the human element. But I like the trailer of them basically going at it in different scenes across the world over and over again.
I felt like there was only two. I felt like there was one on the boat and then one in like Tokyo or something like that. Did I miss some more?
Well, they showed Godzilla destroying some stuff, and they showed Kong fighting in looked like Skull Island against some random creatures.
Yeah, they almost hinted that would be a flashback, because they in the trailer they shift to talking about
The legend.
yeah, the legend. There's been all these battles, and these are the last two that survived, and that's when they cut back to him, twirling around some kind of dinosaur by its tail.
Well, from Kong Skull Island, we learned that Kong's parents were part of that, not Kong himself, where we can assume that Godzilla was Godzilla then.
Sure. Yeah, because they
So
said Kong was
Godzilla's
just
thousands
like
of
a
years
baby or
old.
something.
Yeah, in the Vietnam War, I guess 70s when
Mhm.
we saw him, he was still growing, according to
Monarch.
what's his face?
Or was it Sam Jackson?
No,
Or Ken
one more.
Watanabe?
John C. Riley.
I didn't get to any of them. I haven't
John
seen
C.
Kong.
Riley.
I haven't seen Kong Skull Island in probably since the day it came out.
So he was still growing, and so I think we see him fully matured here, where he can actually go toe to toe with Godzilla. And I like how they've used this little girl on the island as the motivation for Kong. So it's not just some, horny ape after this blonde that he likes.
Yeah.
That he's been depicted all these years, and now it's this connection of protecting this little girl, which is a much better move. Now, usually I'm not for changing, kind of mythos or whatnot, but this is definitely a good shift.
Yeah, and that's a theme that they had also from the Godzilla King of the Monsters, right? Where 11 had some sort of weird connection, not with Godzilla necessarily, but with the monsters, because she gets like real up close with Mothra in the beginning.
Well, they had the frequency.
Yeah. So I mean,
with
it's just
the frequency, yeah.
It's something that it seems like they are continuing to do this whole like kids have some kind of in tune nature with the big monsters.
Yeah, I think that is the right way to go. And then you give Kong Stormbreaker, and it's just the best. I hope they hit it with Immigrant Song, and
No,
probably
chance.
the best movie ever at that point.
So, what are your thoughts then on how this is all going to go down? Because they're clearly making it out like there's several comments in the trailer about Godzilla's out here hurting people. We don't know why. Kong, we need him. All this stuff. So they're clearly setting Godzilla up to be the bad guy that won't actually be the bad guy. So
Right, it's the classic mind control from Tywin, type thing, and he. My guess is the same way the Avengers have to fight the Hulk every now and then, is because he's mind controlled. How do you get the heroes to fight? Because there's always some outside interference.
So that's what you
my
think. You
guess-
think there's like a bad team that's somehow like bugging Godzilla or mind warping him to go do their bidding.
That's my guess, and I bet that there will be a King Kong versus Godzilla, and then we're going to get another baddie
For sure.
that they'll team up against. So whether it's Mecha Godzilla or
Which that's what I've read.
Mecha Rodan.
Yeah, the rumor of the day has been like people analyzing frame by frame of the trailer and swearing that they're seeing Mecha Godzilla and not the actual Godzilla in the trailer in certain parts.
Well, I would think it'd be more Ghidorah because Tywin has his head and experimenting on his head and things like that. That they'd do something that route.
Yeah,
but I just want to see Kong cut loose, and that's where my money is. My money's on Kong.
The one thing, I mean, it does look good. I don't have any issues with what we're seeing so far. I mean, just because I'm not like, all crazy about monster movies, I feel like they're all kind of the same thing over and over again, like big giant smashing going on, which, if that's your thing, that's your thing.
Awesome.
I have my thing with Kung Fu movies and other stuff too, so I get it. It's just not wholly my thing. But from the trailer, like, I don't know why they shifted, like, so halfway through, it switches from like this really epic, big orchestral monster music to hip hop music, which is kind of okay, but I guess I don't know. I don't understand why you would do that in a trailer. Like, if there's one set of movies that feels like it should be like this larger than life, big music, even hinting in like Godzilla's theme, like it's these movies.
Well, sure, but this is trailer guy getting you amped, and that's when they showed Stormbreaker, right?
It happened a little bit
King
before
Kong
that,
with this axe of some sort that can block
the
radiation lasers.
Yeah, it was just an interesting choice. I mean, I get it. Like, it's gonna be, some people are gonna like it. I just thought, like, for the trailer itself, like if we're just talking about analyzing trailers, like that was just, it felt like a Creed trailer instead of big, huge monster movie trailer, which I would have kept it with the more monster feeling stuff. But it's a small, minor thing.
Yeah, I'm
you weren't even
100%
listening to
on
the music.
board. No, did not care. No, did
Yeah.
not care. This is. I feel like after that trailer drop, my most anticipated movie of the year. Like it jumped the list from everything, all the Marvel movies to over Spider-Man, over Black Widow, over Top Gun. You
No
name
way.
it. This leap. Oh yeah. I have low expectations for Top Gun. I want to see it, but I don't think it's gonna be good. But this is my jam. I mean, it's almost like Godzilla, this old force that used to be there, and then the young gun, coming in at King Kong, taking the seat and the mantle. Very similar to what we're going to see today in the Super Bowl. I think
Nice.
Kong as Mahomes is going to come in and throw the hammer down.
I mean, although what's going to happen in the movie is what you said, though. In the end, they're going to be working together, and that'd be like us signing Tom Brady, and that's not going to happen.
No, we're going to end his career today. He's just going to say, it's not worth it. I'm not going to continue.
Is that what
on.
you would want to happen in this movie? Do you want Kong to... You tweeted a picture of Kong wearing Godzilla's head. Is that what you want to actually have happen?
No, he won't. I mean, there's too many Godzilla fans for him to kill Godzilla.
I know, but I'm asking you in particular. Is that what you would want?
Well, sure. I'd like to shut those people up. I think Godzilla could beat Kong, which truly he's got all the tools, right?
Yeah.
Godzilla's got all the tools to fight Kong. And Kong, I feel like he's more nimble, and that's the only thing that he's got going for him.
Yeah, well, but apparently he knows how to stop the atomic breath. So, I mean, you're neutralizing one of Godzilla's main weapons right there.
Yeah, I'd like to see how that comes about. Like, is that going to be a really stupid piece of the movie of, well, this will attract him to like, why is he shooting only at the hammer? Or the axe or whatever this is.
I'm hoping that it's just like a coincidence, right? Like he shot the atomic breath and Kong just happened to be holding it and kind of used it as basically just like Stormbreaker against Thanos shooting at Thor, right? It was like that the axe is heading in to the power beam, whatever the hell Thanos is shooting, and it's just that. It's not like if I throw my axe over here, it automatically attracts the atomic breath. I mean, that will get people groaning pretty fast.
So, I mean, as far as the human element of this, I was not blown away by the human element in King of the Monsters. I actually thought they did a very poor job explaining it all. I think there was a very easy out of where that could have all worked. But that's not why you go watch the movie. you know. And so I know it's only, I say 22 minutes of the full movie, but it's worth it to sit through the human aspect of it. And I do love Eleven whatever she's in. So I'm hoping she uses her 11 powers at some point in this. Just cross her over to all her movies to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But that's I'm just amped. I'm kind of upset that they bumped it for another week for you to enjoy your Snyder cut for a few more days.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still in March and most anticipated movie of the year.
Okay. Well, having said that, where are you thinking that you're at on this? Like, realistically?
Oh, it's a 5-star movie. Yeah, it's a 5-star movie.
I mean, if it's your thing, I mean, do you actually think it'll be 5 stars?
I feel like my enjoyment level for those fight scenes are going to be. I hope it's a lot more than what they've shown. I hope we didn't see the entire fight scene on the boat and then in the city, basically right there. So I'm assuming they know where their bread and butter is, and that's putting them two together and fighting. So, yeah,
I mean, I guess I would say that I'm not sure they understand that based off of what has happened in the last few movies. Because the first Godzilla, which I know we're not dealing with the same director from 2014, but my chief complaint in that was the ridiculous amount of teasing that they did. So I get it. It was the first one.
You didn't see Godzilla until the end of the movie.
Right. And then even in the last one, I mean, I felt like we saw a lot more monsters. So that again, that number that you said is kind of surprising to me. But yeah, I mean, they always force the human stuff, and then you should just do bare bones human stuff, but they like to get cute with it. So, I mean, for me, I would say I'm probably going to be around like a 3. I mean, I hope it surprises me, but just based on my history with monster movies, it's just something that is not my thing. So I'm hopeful. I think maybe I gave the 2014 Godzilla like a 3.5 or 4. I think King of the Monsters was a 3. So that feels right for me. Somewhere between like 3, maybe 2.5 to 3.5. I hope they don't nosedive into a 2.5. That'd be terrible.
I don't think they can. And mind you, I don't think this is going to win an Academy Award. You know? And
sure.
So that's not what I'm comparing this against. You know? So we're this is straight action, 5-star, monster on monster. I think this will be the best kaiju type movie that we've seen to date.
Do you know who's directing this?
Nope, don't care.
Don't care. I honestly hadn't looked at that when I was kind of preparing for the show, and I'm just sort of glancing through it now. So each of the 3 Godzilla movies now will have had different directors. And where I'm going right now is I'm trying to figure out who directed King of the Monsters. And it looks like it was the guy who directed Krampus and Trick or Treat 1 and 2, which I've only seen bits and pieces of Krampus. What's interesting
Krampus,
about...
but not the other.
Okay, what's interesting about Godzilla vs. Kong is it's directed by Adam Wingard, who has done You're Next, The Guest, Death Note, I think it's the Blair Witch remake, yes, and then VHS 1 and 2. So he's got his horror pedigree here.
Which Your Next felt like it was 2 different directors, almost 2 different movies. I don't know if you recall that the first one was a really scary, creepy type movie, and then it got real weird at the end, and it turned into some, you know, almost Home Alone / John Wick / killing bunch of people type movie.
Yeah.
And so, but again, I'm judging off the trailer, and what I've seen from the trailer and the script on which I'm inventing in my head, I don't have any doubts that he can put together a 5-star movie.
Yeah.
So,
okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to trailer number 2. This is what we are going to be covering next week because it's going to be premiering both in theaters and on HBO Max. And that is Judas and the Black Messiah, which I kind of feel like we've been seeing the trailer for this for a while. Like maybe even back to when I was still seeing movies in theaters.
I don't remember seeing trailers for it. I remember seeing that your boy was doing this for a while, but I don't think I ever saw a full-fledged trailer.
Which maybe I'm thinking of Tenet. Maybe it was shown around when I saw Tenet, because that was the last movie I saw in theaters. But who's my boy, Kaluuya?
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, you can't tell me he doesn't look like he's putting on a hell of a performance in this trailer.
Yeah, no, it looks like it's going to be good.
I mean, that guy can act, man. Like, I'm willing to say I haven't seen all the contenders for this year, but just nominate the guy from the trailer alone. Like, if that's all they submitted to the Academy or whatever, like, yeah, okay, that's a nomination. It's 2 minutes. I get it. You're nominated.
Well, that's why they play the game. You got to see the
Sure.
whole movie. You got to see the whole movie.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. But I also like Lakeith Stanfield. So I think those two are going to be a very good combination. Part of me wishes I knew more about the story, but part of me is happy that I don't, because I think it adds to the experience when you know it's a true story, but you don't necessarily know all the details. And then hopefully it tells it in a compelling way. And then you leave the theater trying to Google and figure out, okay, how much of this was real, how much of it wasn't, stuff like that. And I think that adds a layer to movies like this.
I feel like, I mean, obviously they're going to take their own creative spin on it, but I believe that they're trying to stay as true as possible from what I've seen. But obviously you don't know every conversation that everybody has,
right?
at all times. But I do think that they're trying to stay true to this story, and I don't know it either. And so and my wife's a big fan of true stories. If it's a true story, she's like, yeah, I want to see that movie. And we don't know this story, so there's nothing like in my head of this is the way it should be, or oh, I thought it was this, so I'm not waiting for anything in particular to happen. So I'm anxious to see this. I think that, again, they're two proven actors that have shown that they're very capable of taking impactful roles. So I think this will be a good one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they approach this, considering it's about the Black Panthers, but it's also about the social revolution going on at that time. But then they're folding in. I think Plemons Bizarro Matt Damon is playing an FBI agent. I think is maybe what he is. So he's they're taking this kind of subterfuge angle too, and clearly the whole story, hence the title, is Lakeith Stanfield is going to turn on Daniel Kaluuya in some way, shape, or form. So you're not only getting this like historical social change stuff going on, but you're getting this FBI angle to almost like a mystery conspiracy type thing.
Is that what you got from the trailer?
Yeah.
Oh, I got that he would turn against the FBI.
Oh, no. I mean, I guess I took away from the fact that, Lakeith Stanfield's character is getting, basically not framed, but they're going to try and string him up on some charges that seem trumped up in order to get him to flip on Daniel Kaluuya. And that, I mean, hence the whole title, Judas and the Black Messiah. My guess is the Black Messiah is referring to Fred Hampton, Daniel Kaluuya's character, who was the head of the Black Panther Party, who was trying to push through all the social change, and that the only way they felt like they could take him down was to turn one of his own guys in a classic mob move or whatever, and that they're recruiting Lakeith to do that. Now, how it actually plays out in the end, like whether he does the double flip or not, I don't know. I don't know the story, but I think the main angle is that.
So from the trailer, I gathered that it would be. He is supposed to be a mole, if you will. Mm-hmm. He has found out that he is a mole, but in his moleness, he discovers that this is a fight worth fighting for. And so flips the script. That's kind of what I gathered from his facial expressions and what they had led to on, again, from just that first trailer.
Sure.
That's kind of how I think it's going to go down.
I think that's entirely possible. I think the trailer doesn't do much to get you to that point, but I think that's where your breadth of knowledge in movies and where things go probably tries to fill in that gap and guess ahead and project more of that, which I think is just as likely to happen. Because I don't know the story.
Has the poor man's Matt Damon been in a movie where he's a likable character yet?
I feel like he has. I think in Game Night he was likable. I mean, he was kind of quirky and weird, but he was, I think, supposed to be kind of funny. But yeah, I think so. The casting so far is perfect, right? Because I just don't think you could really go wrong with Kaluuya and Stanfield. But yeah, I actually had written in my notes like he's great for the guy who you should be rooting for because he's a cop and he's an FBI agent on the surface, but that he has that face and demeanor where you're like, yeah, but he's also not overly trustworthy.
And am I putting one movie on his entire personality, or has he played like a racist in multiple movies?
I don't know. Well, see, I also think you might be mixing him up. There's a guy who I think he was in Detroit.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
He looks kind of like him too.
Yes, yeah. And I think there is a little bit of typecasting happening there. But it happens, man. Sometimes you just got a look to you that you can't get around. It's kind of
screams racist.
Well, not that screams racist, but that doesn't necessarily scream trustworthy or good guy, right? Like we always joke about old school Powers Booth. Like you can't put that guy in a movie and get me to try and believe he's a good guy. It's not going to happen.
He will be the bad guy before the end of the movie.
Exactly. Yeah. So don't try and twist it. Like let's just lean into the fact that he's going to be bad, and that's kind of how I'm starting to feel with Rami Malek. And it's not necessarily as much that he's good or bad. It's that his face and his facial features are just so unique that it's hard for him to come across as normal almost, right? Like he just always kind of looks on edge and strung out. So like if you're just trying to be a normal dude, like it's hard. It's harder for him to act normal than it would be like neurotic. Whereas like some other people can like, okay, how do you act neurotic or come across looking that way? And Rami's face just by default is set to that. It sucks, but that's how it is. Like, sorry, Rami, you're not getting any rom-coms.
That's okay.
Fair. And
that's fair.
Same with Plemons. Like, you're going to be kind of fuddy-duddy-ish in every movie that you're given. Like, that's your face, bud. We can't all be George Clooney. Brad Pitt, we don't have that luxury. And even worse, you're knockoff Matt Damon, so you're not even Matt Damon.
All right. We can't get Matt. Well, let's get this guy instead.
Poor Plemons. I actually kind of like the dude, but I just torched him for like a minute. I will say, in my running commentary about music, I loved the music in this trailer. I thought it was perfect for the trailer. Made it. Really powerful stuff. Can't wait. Super excited. I think I am I hate saying that something's going to have a floor of 4 because that's such a high floor. Like that, you're getting a little crazy when you do that. So
that's aggressive.
I would say 3.5 to 5 is where this one could be. So most likely.
Do we know the runtime?
Ooh, you know what? It's funny you ask that. That's a really good question because I almost need to stop looking at runtimes because that weighs heavily on me sometimes where I'm like, really? Like 2 hours and 45 minutes? Like that's what we're going to do here?
Yeah, because I could see this movie being like a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
If they wanted it to be. And that would definitely hurt the rating.
Yeah. Well, partially too because
could hurt,
right? But you start getting into like above 2.5, and the rewatchability factor becomes very, very bad because I have tons of movies that I love that approach 2:45, 3 hours, but it's just like, dude, can I really sit down and commit 3 solid hours to this? So thankfully, it's only 126 minutes, so just over 2 hours. You take out credits on both ends, you're sitting at about 2 hours. That's fair.
Okay, so that's not necessarily a detriment to this. So that's good.
No,
I was trying to think of reasons why it would have your floor of 4.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. I don't think that's something we've ever really talked much about in our podcast ever, but because I think for me it usually comes into play on rewatch. Usually first time, like, okay, if I'm going to commit to going to the theater, fine, 3 hours. You got me this one time locked in for 3 hours. But yeah, beyond that, you start to question, how good really is Heat. I know that every time I watch it, I love it. But man, when I sit there and look at it at 3 hours, I'm like, checking my watch. What am I doing? Am I going to commit half a day? I could be playing some video games. I could be, doing so many other things in 3 hours.
Yeah, Heat. I just wait for one scene and then I'm done.
Yeah,
it's like I'm just waiting for the bank robber scene, which is perfect.
Yeah,
I love every piece of that. But you're right. I don't want to start that movie because it is a commitment.
Yep. Same with Lord of the Rings, man. I have not watched them since college solely because they're each 3 hours.
Yeah, and the first one's not even a full movie. It's half a movie.
That's a subject for a different day.
Okay. We'll dive into that.
Yeah. Okay, so now we've reached the point where we are going to do our giveaway. So here's how this is going to work. We broke this down on social media over the last few days, but we are going to give you a code right now. And what you can do with that code is send it to us in whatever way you want. That's either is so you can DM us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or you can email us at twoviewsmovies@gmail.com, and you can give us the code RUNITBACK. That's going to be our code because that's what's about to happen tonight. And when you send us that code, you need to tell us what you want. So we have 2 giveaways happening right now. So what you're going to do is you're going to send us this code of Run It Back, and you're going to tell us which of these 2 movies you want to basically see. For Barb and Star, go to Vista Del Mar. You will get a digital download code that will work starting Friday. You can use that code to redeem the movie. Or you can tell us that you want to see Judas and the Black Messiah, in which case you will get a code that gives you access to 2 free movie tickets to go see Judas and the Black Messiah. So, want to stress the difference here. Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar is a digital download. For Judas and the Black Messiah, you would get a code to go see these in theater, and each code would be worth 2 tickets. So again, all you need to do is DM us or send us an email with the code RUNITBACK, and then let us know what you want. It will be first come, first serve until supplies are all gone.
Yeah, you got that out.
It was a struggle to get that all out. It sounds simple when I'm thinking about it in my mind, like, hey, here's a code, get some codes, we're good. But then when you have to explain it all, and we have weird titles like Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar instead of Visit Vista Del Mar, it ties my tongue a little bit.
Yeah, and Barb and Star is with it's the new Kristen Wiig vehicle.
Yes.
If you're unfamiliar.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with it, you can check out our Facebook page or our Twitter page. We shared that trailer probably within the last week or so, maybe last 2 weeks, but you can also just Google it and check it out. But yes, Kristen Wiig, comedy, and then obviously we just talked about Judas and the Black Messiah. So free codes to give away for everybody. If you want them, first come, first serve. Make sure you follow the rules, and hopefully we will get more of these in the future to give away to everybody.
Yeah, so please participate.
Was that like Jeb? Please clap.
Please clap.
Actually, if they don't participate, then I guess we just have some free codes laying around. But we don't want them.
That's true.
We want to give them to you guys. So participate. All right.
Trailer number 3.
Okay.
Most people, I'm sure, haven't even heard of this movie.
I didn't until you said something to me.
Yeah, and I just happened to be watching a What's Coming, and I started throwing through all the trailers, and I'm like, you know what, we have to watch this. And this is Nobody with Better Call Saul.
Bob Odenkirk.
Yes. And I want to start out because I asked you to do the same thing that I did, because I was looking through these trailers, and I was lying in bed in the morning and my wife was still asleep, so I watched the trailer without any sound, and I was trying to discern what happened. And then I was like, okay, I'm into this. It feels like a falling down type movie of a guy just snaps and then violence ensues. I come into the living room and turn on with sound, and that's not what this was. This is a John Wick 12 years after we saw John Wick, as if his wife and dog did not die.
Yeah. And I participated in your little experiment, and I had the same exact thought, like, oh, this is falling down. The only thing that made me not really believe that fully was he was too good of a fighter to have just been a random guy who's losing his mind.
Sure. Yeah, and then all of a sudden he had access to all these assault rifles and around his house.
Once he went John Wick and locked him in the basement with a code, I was like, okay.
I was like, maybe they're going to explain this somehow. Okay. But that's where I thought they were going with this, this falling down type, which needs to be done better. Or not better, but again.
Sure.
I guess better. It wasn't as great on the rewatch.
I'm surprised with as prevalent as the kind of revenge genre guy who's been out of the business for a while, cancel culture stuff going on, like that somebody hasn't done a falling down, like a dude just snaps. Now maybe it's because there's so much of that going on in the real world where people are snapping and shooting places up that we don't want to
do that,
portray that. We'd rather it be like the guy who lived the life of crime before, so he's actually got these particular set of skills. So I mean, maybe I've just talked myself out of that, but I am still kind of just shocked that the falling down thing has not happened again.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly why it hasn't, is nobody wants to be that person
Yeah.
to make that movie.
Yeah, it was one thing to happen to do that movie in the 80s when it didn't seem like it was as common, whereas now, sadly, it seems like it's just all
People
too real.
snap all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so you touched on this, but the director of John Wick is producing this movie, and I mean it is John Wick, right? Like,
Yeah, if John Wick's wife didn't die and he had kids, and 12 years later, that's this movie.
yeah. I mean, I just had a little checklist, right? So he left a life where he was called an auditor. So, I mean, come on. We are
Not an adjudicator.
not an adjudicator, an auditor. He has a debt that he owes because he left. There's a house invasion scene that is straight out of the first John Wick. Some of the similar world building. The one that got me was the daughter complains about somebody stealing her kitty bracelet. So he yells about it later. So instead of a dog being killed, now we're yelling about a kitty bracelet. Like it's almost too on the nose.
It's almost like it's making fun of John Wick.
Agreed, but it's not coming across as satire.
Well, I feel like the movie might be, but trailer guy said no one's going to see this, so how about I make it look more like John Wick?
I mean, that's entirely true.
Did you see the clips of the villain dancing in the strobe light?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, so that makes like he is clearly going to be an over the top, ridiculous villain, which I hate.
Right.
I hate. Give me my menacing villain
Sure.
all day, every
Sure.
day. And so that's gonna. I feel like that's gonna ruin the movie. But I feel like the movie trailer is trying to pitch a different movie than what this is.
I think that's possible. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to get, but I legitimately question whether or not this exists in the John Wick universe.
Oh, well, don't you think we would have seen the coins opposed to gold bars?
Well, maybe they're just, expanding the universe a little bit. Like, that's the one thing you and I both have said about John Wick, which is really cool, is the world building, right? Like, a little bit each movie, they just keep expanding. And it's not this whole big thing that they just dump on you with a bunch of exposition and stuff. You just kind of slowly feel your way around this world. Each movie adds something with the coins and the adjudicator. So maybe they're just going over here to the right, a little bit and saying, all right, now we've got auditors over here, and that's who Bob Odenkirk is. And then in John Wick 4, what do you know? We've got Bob Odenkirk in here, right? Like, I don't know. It seems so much like it that that's where my brain went.
I feel like if that were the case, there'd be more marketing behind it and more people would have heard about it.
I mean, that's possible. I mean, the one thing that, John Wick 4 was supposed to come out this spring. I don't know when it got moved to, but I don't know about the timing. So, I don't know. But I think your point about the villain is good. My other point, this is going to be 100% based on choreography for me. Because, that's really... John Wick was amazing choreography with nuggets of story. But if the choreography isn't there and it's all stuff that we've seen before, it doesn't really do anything new or doesn't do it well, this movie is gonna fall down.
So could they have picked a less believable actor that could do this under 60? Like, I don't think you could have. There is one that's a less believable actor that could be a John Wick-like person.
Right. It is
Hollywood.
It is a strange pick. It's going to be very interesting to see how this comes across.
Like, other than Bizarro Matt Damon, I mean, he might fit that bill, but I can't think of a person who.
I mean, you could go with
who just couldn't.
You could go with his other half from Mr. Show, Bob and David. Go with David Cross. I mean, you could find a lot of guys that are way worse than Bob Odenkirk, but
he would be worse.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I've been struggling with that all morning, and he would be worse.
Yeah.
David Cross says all of a sudden, John Wick. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for solving that for me, because I was looking for someone worse, and there you go.
Yeah. I think realistically, I should probably put myself around a 2.5 or 3. I mean, I will be thrilled if I get to a 3.5 or 4, like ecstatic if that happens. But I would say 2.5 or 3. But the choreography does look good.
Yeah,
I'll give it that.
Yeah, I'm expecting probably a 2.5, but just an average. Okay, that was an okay movie, and then move on. I'm hoping for a 3 because I think that there's going to be some elements in here where I like, and it'd be good takeaway. But I'm hoping for a 3.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'll put it. I'll put it at 3.
And this one said theaters only. So whereas the first two movies we talked about, Godzilla versus Kong and Judas and the Black Messiah, are going to get the good old HBO Max drops, the trailer for Nobody says, I think it was February 26th, and I think it said theaters only. So I don't even know if they're doing like the on demand at the same time, where if you want, you can pay $20 and watch it. I don't know. So this one might be one that has to wait a while before we get our hands on it.
Yeah, but I'm intrigued. Let me put it this way.
Sure. I mean, how could you not be?
Cautiously optimistic.
Yep. Okay, well, we got through our trailers. Hopefully everybody's excited. So Judas and the Black Messiah, we are covering on next week's episode. Send us your codes if you want access to either of the movies that we talked about. Godzilla vs. Kong, Carson's ready to go. He's counting down the days. Once we get past the Super Bowl, it's all eyes on March for him. And then I think now's the time to shift gears, like we mentioned, and we're going to go spoilers for WandaVision.
WandaVision.
All right, here we go. Let's do spoilers.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back.
Spoilers.
All right. So we're here. We've talked about the first 2 episodes before. I don't even really want to talk about episode 3 of WandaVision, other than the fact that they finally turned the corner at the end of that episode and gave us something a little bit more of a nugget. But the first 3 episodes are really just the sitcom play until the end. But finally in 4, they switch gears and give us good old fashioned Marvel, what we've all been wanting a little bit more of. And 4 was really the first time that I think collectively across, I mean, to say there's been a divide about the first 3 episodes would probably be selling it a little bit short. But I think everybody came together, was like, all right, 4, good, here we go. Like, everybody liked 4, we're good to go. So I don't know where you want to start. I personally don't feel like I need to beat the dead horse of 1 through 3 being pretty, at least for me, miserable experiences. But if you want to, we can. But what do you want to do?
No, I mean, that's just a ridiculous take. It's just the first part of a series and getting into it. But I can't get past 5. At the end of 5.
Okay, so you want to jump straight to the end of 5.
I know, because that's where my emotions are, and there are things that I liked all throughout until she opened the door.
Okay, and so tell everybody what happened, what's your problem with it?
So Wanda, at the end of the episode, opens the door, and there's Quicksilver, but not our Quicksilver.
Mm-hmm.
We get freaking... We have opened the door to let Singer's cancer come into the MCU. And I hate that. We get Fox's interpretation of Quicksilver has now entered the MCU. And that means that it exists. And I hate that it exists in the MCU. I hate that we could have some characters that are the same and MCU just not reboot the whole X-Men. And so that it just destroyed that whole episode for me. Because one, I know a lot of people like Evan Peters' Quicksilver better than what the MCU did. I did not. I did not share that. He did have a cool scene once where it was all slow-mo and he was doing that. Okay. I don't like, he acts more like the Flash than he does Quicksilver. And so that was a problem for me. Aaron Taylor Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
you get that right?
I think so.
He acted more like Quicksilver. Quicksilver's a cocky, he's kind of an ass. He's a guy that his entire life, if he's trying to move at super speed and he's waiting on everybody and he's annoyed and angry at the world and just kind of a dick. And I feel like Aaron Taylor Johnson had more of that than this quippy little, jokester around. 'Cause again, that's DC's Flash. That's how he is.
Mm-hmm.
And they try to make Quicksilver that. So I hated that interpretation of him. when that came. But the bigger picture is you just brought in Singerverse into something that was great. And I hope they just stop it. But the fact that you even acknowledge that it exists angers me.
Okay. So here's my 2 cents on that. One, I think people like the Fox Quicksilver better because they got multiple movies and because he actually feels like a dynamic character. Unfortunately, you only got one of the MCU Quicksilver, and it was just Ultron, and he didn't make it out of Ultron. And he was kind of just this, it really came across as one-dimensional. Like, you might have some more background as to those things that you mentioned because you've read the comics, but in the movie, he just comes across as a character you probably don't really care too much about. I just don't feel like they did a good job of, in that one movie, which it is tough to do in one movie when you're a side character sharing the screen with all the Avengers and Scarlet Witch and everybody, to fully formulate a character. But I get why people are more drawn to the Quicksilver character on the Fox side than the one here.
See, and I don't get that either, because not only did you make the Quicksilver on the Fox side basically invincible, I mean, the guy, those scenes, why couldn't he just kill anybody or solve any problem instantly? The same problem we have with the Flash. If you can move that fast, there's no villain that can stand in your way. And all they have in Dark Phoenix is him tripping or something. You know, she trips him. I mean, it's so stupid. Well, at least Aaron Taylor Johnson, they made him at least feel like he had weaknesses to where he could be shot. He's not, all knowing around him at all times. So they made him more grounded, where he could do more in a movie verse.
Yeah,
where now you have to explain why he can't just, why don't you send Quicksilver in there? That's the easy answer to almost every question that you're gonna.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but setting aside their powers, I'm talking about just like the character, the personality, how you would relate to that person as another human character on the screen. The Fox version, to me, I can see why people prefer that one over this, because he's got some wit, he's got some humor to him, he's kind of flippant about things, like he has some dimension to him. I felt like the MCU Quicksilver was plain, like staring at paint drying on the wall. There was just nothing to him.
See, I think there's something to say for having somebody that the rest of the team doesn't really like, and I mean, he's on the team. I mean, you have everybody that's quippy, like truly everybody, almost everybody on the Avengers is quippy and fun, and you don't need another one of that. You need somebody who they don't, it's like, gosh, why is this guy like that? But he's part of the team. Yes, we'll fight with him, but I may not like him. Yeah, I feel like that brings another dynamic to the team that we don't have. But right now, it's another jokester, another blah.
But the problem is it's one movie, and that you don't get that relationship. What you just described, that doesn't come across in the screen, where they're all playing off of each other, and the MCU Quicksilver is the stick in the mud kind of guy. It just that's not there. I mean, you can project that that's how that relationship would continue to be, but it's just it's not built out enough on the screen because there's not enough time for it.
Sure, but I'm saying don't bring in another quippy guy. Like we have plenty of those.
Sure.
Yeah, in the Singerverse, you have a bunch of serious people, and so you needed that guy. In the MCU, everybody's quippy, so you don't need that.
Sure, but I guess this gets back to the other point you were making about acknowledging the Singerverse exists. I guess I don't have a problem with it because the multiverse exists, so there's infinite numbers of possibilities. So why wouldn't you, as a company, like just make a little bit of a wink, haha, Easter egg kind of moment here, where there's no way they're actually bringing in the Singerverse full time to the MCU. I don't imagine that's happening. And if you paid attention to any of the rumors about Spider-Man 3 or Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, there's all sorts of rumors that they're going to acknowledge all these other Marvel properties that have happened in the past that aren't necessarily part of the main MCU timeline. So I don't have a problem with doing that and saying, hey, this is one of an infinite number of universes, and because Wanda is creating some new reality, she's accidentally pulled in the wrong Quicksilver, and haha, wink and nod, it's the one from the Fox franchise. Like I don't think either you or I see this as the beginning of what they're really trying to do with the X-Men.
Oh, I truly hope not.
No,
And I
don't
truly
think
hope
there's
it's
any
just a
way.
wink and if it's just a wink and a nod, fine, whatever. But I hate the fact that this could be a possibility for them. Oh, we're going to pick and choose which characters we want to bring over, and which ones, are from a different multiverse. I guess.
Yeah.
There is no one, and I fear that Nicholas Hoult is on the horizon, and that is the worst idea of a beast ever. And he should not exist in MCU. MCU has done such a great job with these characters that they should build their own, and not. While I love
And
Magneto,
I think they will.
I love Fassbinder as Magneto. Don't do it.
Sure, and I don't think they will. I personally,
Okay,
neither of us
that's my
know
anger.
this.
That's where my anger stems from.
Yeah, which I just truthfully, I really genuinely don't think that's going to happen. Like, they've come out and said that they don't even know what they're going to do with X-Men yet, long term. That they're still in conversations with it. Now, do they
smoke screen?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they have some
Smoke
ideas,
screen.
but I do not see them. The multiverse is the perfect opportunity to do all of this stuff, right? I mean, we saw in Into the Spider-Verse. You can make nods to the Raimi franchise. If Spider-Man 3 with Tom Holland is going to have nods to Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and all that stuff, it's their way of acknowledging all of their previous properties that are still Marvel properties, even though they're not part of the MCU, and give people. I think it does something twofold. I think it acknowledges that, hey, we've had these movies in the past. They're not part of our main timeline now, but haha, let's have a good laugh at it. We can have Chris Evans come in as Human Torch, even though we also played Captain America. Haha, funny. But then you also have the ability to but beyond those Easter eggs, like you create this concept of the multiverse and reinforce it with properties that people already know. So like if you brought in an alternate Quicksilver that wasn't the guy from Fox, now you're going to be like, okay, who's that? I guess that's Quicksilver. You're telling me that's Quicksilver. I've never seen this person before. Did I miss him in one of my 22 other movies? But by using existing properties that people know, you can make that point a lot easier and still discard it and set it aside. So I think it's a good move to do it and just acknowledge it. It gets the points across way easy. When you're talking to somebody in a conversation, like if I'm talking with my parents, I'd be like, oh, well, you remember that was Quicksilver from the other one. Like he's not going to be part of the main timeline, but think of the Fox movies as an alternate universe that just got pulled from temporarily. And like, that's an easy concept to grasp versus saying like, oh, okay, this is a new actor. It's still Quicksilver or this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like it works for me.
As long as they don't exist later.
I don't think they
I'm
will.
on board. I hate it. And you're the guy that doesn't worry about today's game, and that's fine. But I'm freaking out about seeing, Mystique in 8 other Jennifer Lawrence movies, from here on out. Like that, they don't know that character. Fox ruined Dark Phoenix. They ruined all of that stuff. Apocalypse, you name it. Of all the things that they just crapped on, and I don't want that to be canon. Yes, the X-Men have already done that, so we're not going to do that again. I wanted to start fresh. And I know that they needed a way to get Deadpool in, and so that's what I was kind of worried about. How are they going to pull Deadpool into the MCU? Because they've already mentioned that they were going to do that. But he better be the only one, because I hate the crack is open.
Yeah,
and I don't want that Cancerverse to come in.
I don't think this will be the only one.
Not to the comics, by the way.
You should brace yourself for
there
more.
There is a Cancerverse.
You should.
There is a Cancerverse, and that is Singer.
You should brace yourself for more. I think they will do it because they're bringing in the Sony people. They're bringing. I think Multiverse of Madness will maybe have more, but I think as long as you have it in the context of it's just one of the infinite number of universes out there, but it's not really part of the main timeline. I think that's what it's going to be.
And I'm okay with that. I'm okay, like I said, with Toby. You swing by and you wave to this other Spider-Man, and then you're like, that's cute. There's Stan Lee. That type of thing. But if they're somehow integrated in, this is our Magneto that we're working with, or this is now our Jean Grey. We brought her. We thought she did a great job. But we're bringing her into this universe. No, she did not do a great job. It was not good.
Well, I
start over.
I think that would be very hard to do. I think if you start cherry picking which ones to bring over and you don't pick over the other ones, that's a very confusing situation. So I don't see that happening. And I mean, to your point about comparing this to the Chiefs, like Mahomes hasn't given you any reason to doubt him. And as of right now, the MCU hasn't really given you any reason to doubt it. It has made the right decision.
Until Friday, when they opened the door and there stood Fox.
Right, but if you yourself on this pod had just said if it's just an Easter egg and a little multiverse thing, then you're all good with it, which is exactly what I think they're doing.
I just wanted them to ignore it ever existed.
Yeah,
that was my hope.
I think it makes too much sense to do it the way they did it.
I know they paid a lot of money to have those movies. They bought Fox. Sure, you have access to all that, and same with.
Oh, I don't think they care about that.
Yeah, but we have these toys. Why not? Get them involved.
I don't think that mattered at all, dude. I think they were.
But you just connected the MCU to Dark Phoenix, and they own that now. They have to own that.
Yeah, and I think they will, and I think they'll say, "Hey, you know what? That's one of the many, universes out there, and Wanda just happened to pull from that one, and it's over and done with."
So brings up a good theory. I don't think Wanda did it.
Okay.
So I don't think Wanda pulled it. And so there are tons of theories out there. A lot of people think it's Mephisto. I don't know if we've talked about Mephisto at all on the pod. Mephisto is basically the MCU or Marvel Comics version of the devil. They had to give him a different name due to the comics code in the 60s of, hey, we don't have the devil. This is just a demon from a different dimension called Mephisto that happens to look just like the devil and lives in a place he calls hell. And that's his dimension, is the hell dimension. So it's changed over time, but when the comics code when he was created is basically the devil. And so you saw him in Ghost Rider, so I guess we could bring in Nicolas Cage. Why not? But he's there was a lot of tie-ins to Mephisto and Wanda and her kids, and they're not going to go anywhere near what the comics did. There's no way for them to do all that. So I'm not going to get into all that because if you try to read through Wikipedia, your mind is just going to explode. Who are these people and what are they doing? But some people think that Mephisto is controlling Wanda, and she's doing it, but he's kind of pushing her in one way or another. And Agnes is trying to keep Wanda happy and not go dark. So that's one thing is people say, oh, this Quicksilver is actually Mephisto in disguise, which doesn't make any sense to me because why wouldn't you just be her brother that she knows if you're going to do that in disguise? Or he just pulled one from another dimension and threw it in there just to mess with it. So that's one. Some people think it's Dormammu trying to squeak through into this dimension again. We've seen him in Doctor Strange. He's the big floating head that Doctor Strange fights.
Yep.
There's lots of different of who's messing with it, but the most people feel like Wanda's not in control of this, and she has some pieces, but there's an outside force that's messing with her.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that, especially when you waste the first 3 episodes of the season, and there's 9, and we're through 5.
Yeah,
and I honestly don't know how many of these MCU shows are supposed to be multi-seasons. I've never heard if some of these are one and done, or if we're multi. So I'm not sure I would introduce a third party to this. I think it needs to be Wanda. I think it needs to resolve with Wanda, and I think it needs to resolve Vision somehow. That's of course if it's one season. I guess if they're going 2, then I give you a little bit more leeway and stuff. But I would. I think the idea right now.
Well, I think the idea was to introduce Mephisto to Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. I feel like that's what. And I believe that's what Kevin said originally, was that this was going to lead into Phase 4. And so I think your next big baddie is essentially the devil. If that's the route that they go with him, who is your next big baddie that's messing with the multiverse, and that could easily be him.
Wasn't the rumor for the next big bad supposed to be the guy coming up in Ant-Man? Kang?
Kang?
Yeah.
Yeah, could be. I don't see how he fits in all this. He's more just a time traveling guy. But
I gotta think Eternals dropped something big, right? If you're gonna have characters, I don't know anything about Eternals, but the scale and magnitude of which I've heard these characters are, that seems ripe for some new big bad to come out of that property.
Well, if you have Eternals, you could have somebody, like Mephisto, who's been around since the dawn of time also. But for getting into all their backstory,
Yeah.
like I said, there is a lot of what the comics could do, or stories that they could pull, but clearly they're making up their own thing, but with little elements. So they have, her kids. So we hadn't talked about her kids yet. Her twins, basically, one has her powers, one has Quicksilver's powers. So you have Speed and Wiccan, that will eventually become Young Avengers. Whether they do that or not, I don't know. In the comics, when they tell her that her kids aren't real, that she made them basically out of magic, that she goes nuts, and tries to tear everything down. And I feel like that's kind of where they're hinting.
Mm-hmm.
She's basically going Dark Phoenix, and she's doing a better Jean Grey than Jean Grey did in any of the movies that we've seen. And I like her as this. I like her going bad.
Yeah, I'm glad we are finally somewhere in this series where we are able to see Wanda and Vision and some of the other characters around them, driving towards something that feels real. Like, that was my problem with the first 3 episodes, was it felt like too much horsing around for 99% of the show, and then 1% was some little nuggets. Now, do I think the needle has swung way far the other way? Yeah, it has, and they had to compensate for those first 3 episodes. So I did like, I think, the 5th episode, because it was a blend of like that TV show sitcom-y stuff with the mystery that's going to keep moving us forward. And I think that would have been the recipe that I would have wanted in the first 3 episodes. But I'm glad we're here where we're at now. I like what's happening with Vision, who's starting to kind of realize things aren't right. I like that Wanda has interacted with the outside world, so we're starting to kind of peel back some layers. I liked in episode 4 that they established where we were finally, like timeline-wise, that it was, post-blip. So now we know we're not, 50 years in the past or 50 years in the future. We're really where we kind of expected to be. So I think these next, was it 4 episodes? Are we on, is there 9? Is that the number that I think you told me before?
Yeah, they said 9, and then I saw an article that said there's a hidden episode, so there's 10, which
Okay.
I don't know if that was just somebody being
Cute.
I didn't read into it, but
Sure.
I try to avoid, some of the spoilers. Like we didn't watch the trailer for the upcoming
Right.
second half. They released that, but you and I have opted out.
Yep.
So we did not want any more spoilers, but we do know that she does don the Scarlet Witch outfit for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting that they've never mentioned Scarlet Witch as Scarlet Witch in the MCU,
Right.
other than like in credits.
Mm-hmm.
They never actually called her that, and so they kind of harped on that in this episode of she doesn't have a cool little nickname.
Yeah.
And some people are thinking like the director is Mephisto. Also, I mean, there's theories all over the place of who that guy is and what's he doing. But I wonder when she goes bad, someone's going to call her witch. Tony did in Age of Ultron, called her a witch, but not the Scarlet Witch.
Right.
So I think that's interesting that they did that. But you mentioned Vision. I liked how they showed him dead.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, oh, Wanda forgot. Like that's what he's supposed to look like until she controls it.
Yeah.
And so because he's just a reanimated corpse essentially. So I don't think we're gonna see Vision after this.
Well, and
series.
I think that was interesting too, because I wasn't sure how much, like, her kids are fabricated from nothing essentially. But with Vision, she had to reanimate the corpse, and with the other people in the town, she's taking real people and twisting them. So, like, I didn't have a good sense for what she's able to create out of thin air versus what she's reanimating. So I guess that's where, the hope for Vision to exist outside of this is probably very slim.
Yeah, I think he's done. That's funny that they added Sparky. Sparky was there's a little Easter egg for you. He was a dog that Vision created as a synthezoid when he had tried to make his own synthezoid family to feel normal. And so Sparky was the dog that he created.
Oh, okay.
So they threw that name in there. I don't think he's going to exist after this. But again, little Easter egg for people that they're funny there. It's hard to know what they're just nodding at and what is actually going to have meaning.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Monica Rambeau mentions an aerospace engineer, and we were like, oh, that's Reed Richards. Like, you assume that's Reed Richards based on the Fantastic Four is coming and whatnot. when you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, almost everybody's an aerospace engineer.
Yeah.
It could be, Blue Marvel, or it could be Riri Williams, who we know she's getting her own show, the Ironheart. Like there's so many people that are super uber smart. It
Right.
could even be Doctor Doom. Like some people think it's Doctor Doom, which I think would be a really cool turn.
Mm-hmm.
You don't bring in Reed Richards, you bring in Victor Von Doom
Yeah.
to help you with this. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many things they could be doing right now, and I could truly sit here for hours and dissect all these. But are there any things that you have questions about as a non-comic book reader that maybe that you don't quite understand or think there's more to?
No, I mean, I think this show has been laced with Easter eggs, but I mean, I've been trying to read up on them, but I mainly was just happy and along for the ride now that episode 4 and 5 have kicked in. So that's what I've been waiting for. And, my big question that's still out there is the one I already mentioned, which is exactly how do Wanda's powers work? Because I don't think anybody knows that, because we have comic knowledge and we have some MCU knowledge, but what we're experiencing now is something completely different. She's manipulating all sorts of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see the context of her powers, in which, like, how far do they go? What does she need to have happen? Is she just manipulating some reality? Is she creating some? And then when this bubble all shuts down, like, what's left, right? Does something that was like her kids, are they going to exist? Or are they going to go away? So I have questions, but not really about like what I'm seeing or experiencing. I'm so thankful that we are beyond episodes 1 through 3.
Well, you mentioned what happens when the bubble goes away. Well, Monica's pants stayed, so maybe if her kids leave the hex bubble, they stay.
Could be.
So,
but
like
Monica's pants were changed from what she was wearing going in, whereas the kids were created out of thin air.
Yeah, and if you want a little backstory on the kids, which is rabbit hole, they are created from shards of Mephisto's soul.
Yeah, I think that would be getting way too complex for
that
this
he
show.
later reclaims. Yes, but so I don't think they need to go that route.
Yeah.
But I did like how they just named this bubble the Hex, because her powers in the comics are Hex powers, chaos powers, and so that's just a way to throw that in there.
Sure.
We're going to call this thing the Hex. But I liked her scene when she came out the bubble. I thought that was the best scene so far of the series, of her coming out there and just showing, hey, I can do whatever I want.
Yep, and I like that we've got real side characters like the director and Randall Park's character and Monica Rambeau. Like those are working outside the bubble. The lady from Thor is in now, who's been, she's been in since I think like episode maybe 4 or whatever. But yeah, it's coming together. I think my big thing is just that I will never rewatch episodes 1 through 3. So that's there's no point.
Well, unless you're, again, hunting for Easter eggs and things that they've dropped in 1, 2, and 3 may have implications, but I see what you're saying as far as action and cool scenes. There's not there.
Yeah, but even outside of action and cool scenes, I mean, my guess is the Easter eggs that you would find wouldn't really even be. They would just be fun. I mean, that's what Easter eggs are, right? It's not going to be something that's like, oh, if you go pick up on this, you now understand so much more about the show. No, it's going to be like, oh, hey, look at that little nod they did right there in the commercial during the I Love Lucy episode. Aha, funny. But not something that's going to be like, oh, man, that came back into play in episode 7 in such a big way. Like, I don't predict that's going to happen.
Well, did you get the commercial they did in episode 5?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
The spilling of the Kool-Aid and the Lagos cleaning up?
No.
So Lagos is the largest city in Nigeria, and that's where she killed Crossbones and killed those people.
Oh, okay.
And so that's what the name that the brand has her cleaning up, and it said when you make mistakes, so something like that.
Gotcha. That's
and
good.
So it was basically her psyche of it didn't clean up everything, or trying to clean up her, and it was all red, so it was blood.
Yeah.
So there's things like that you're like, okay, maybe that's hinting at something.
Sure.
But just how fractured either someone's messing with her or her mind is.
Yeah.
So, and you mentioned her powers. Even in the comics, they're not defined. So she has chaos powers, magic powers, and telekinesis and just stuff.
Yeah.
We don't know all that she can do. Reality warping powers. So I don't think they're going to really define what she can do.
No, I didn't mean
it. Be frustrating for people.
I actually didn't mean it like that. It was more of like the things that we've seen her do. What happens when we move past this? So like, obviously she can reanimate somebody that's dead. She can create people out of thin air. But like, right now it's all in the context of the bubble. So when that goes away, what remains? How permanent is the stuff that she's done?
So I'll challenge that. I don't think she can bring people back from the dead. And I think that's why they killed Sparky. I think Vision is a robot, and so
Gotcha.
She was able to do that.
Sure.
But and I think maybe that's why she couldn't bring back Quicksilver, because that's an EV. So I don't think she can resurrect the dead, but she can reanimate
I think that's a perfect point for the question I'm looking for, which is like, how exactly are her powers working in this bubble? Because that's a big thing. You're right. Vision wasn't technically alive, so yeah.
Or was he? Then you get into robot rights and what is AI?
Again, topic for another episode.
Yeah, I'm excited, but also very, very worried.
Okay, I'm not worried. I'm actually really happy with the track that we're on now. I think that's the whole Quicksilver thing's a nod. And I'm anxious to see how the first MCU show wraps up.
4 more episodes.
I know.
This next one is the one I've been looking for, the Halloween one.
Oh, okay.
All Halloween episodes are the best in any series, any TV show. The Halloween episodes are always the best ones.
I wouldn't even begin to know how to parse that statement, or I can't even think of another Halloween episode off the top of my head.
You go from Simpsons to Friends to Modern Family. You name it. You name whatever series that you want. The Halloween episodes are always the best.
I'm not that much of a TV guy, so I will take your word for it on that one. All right. Well, that does
take my word for it.
Yeah, LeVar. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Carson, where can they find you on Twitter?
At Carson Graff, Graff.
You can find me at TwoViewsGarrett, Garrett. You can find Two Views Movies on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can always email us at twoviewsmovies@gmail.com. Please, if you're liking the show, go out and subscribe to it. If you've already subscribed at Apple, Google, Spotify, anywhere you listen, if you've already done that, drop us a star rating, leave us a review. It helps us out. We will be back next week with our take on Judas and the Black Messiah. And then also talk for probably a solid 30, 45 minutes about going back-to-back with the Chiefs.
A 3-peat by next time.
Oh, yeah. We'll have moved on to 3-peat. I mean, it had been a week after, probably, we'll already be on our way. Go Chiefs.
Chiefs.
All right. Catch you later.
What should we do next? Something good? Something bad? Bit of both? Bit of both.